Good morning. I hope it's as beautiful everywhere as it is right here today in our St. Louis metropolitan area. It is a glorious day. The sun is shining. The sky is blue. You can feel just that little bit of crispness in the air. And I am Dr. Marlene Bricker. I am here with Unity Spiritual Center, and I welcome each and every one of you. Wherever you are, whoever you are, on your path, you are welcome here. Today, my topic is one that I really thought about, and it is titled, Cherish Your Scars. And I would like to start with our Unity Diversity Statement. We recognize and honor the divine within us as the one common denominator that we all share on our human journey. The living heart of unity understands and manifests its support of this divinity by recognizing there is an inherent good in all people. Unity Worldwide Ministries, its members and affiliates welcome with love all people in every form of God's creation, regardless of how that creation presents itself. It is the intent that unity organizations are inclusive and non-discriminatory. We honor all components that contribute to the diversity of community. We affirm and support unity principles and programs that manifest diversity in our teachings, policies, buildings, and within our communities. We are resolute in walking the course of human rights and social justice for all. My favorite line in the whole piece. Now I want to quote Eric Butterworth, a very, very famous unity minister. And if you haven't read any of his books, you might want to check him out. He's excellent. Don't go through life, grow through life. Don't go through life, grow through life. And then Isaiah 1:18. Come now and let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. And just so you know, a sin in unity, actually in Judaism also, is nothing more than simply missing the mark and letting your, cherishing your scars. It's just a little way that we grow through life. And I want to start with something I wrote. And here we go. Every time you look at that scar, you remember where you were, who was with you, and how badly it hurt. It is long since healed, yet the memory remains. The scar no longer hurts, yet the visual brings back the situation. Scars are not unique to our bodies. We also have emotional scars, memories that perhaps haunt us, sorrows we experienced. When we think of them, we begin to feel the feelings as though it just occurred. We realize we have not forgotten. Then, if we take a moment to remember what occurred after that situation, sometimes we hone into an entirely different memory. That scar or incident perhaps was a transformational change. Perhaps it caused a shift that would have never occurred had the scar not occurred. Just never forget. Our scars are what create the stars in our wonderful universe of life. Now, I want to give you a definition of a scar. A mark remaining as on the skin after injured tissue has healed. A lasting moral or emotional injury. And a scar has a unique place in our lives. Every scar on our body, soul, or heart has a special place. It is something we will never forget. Perhaps a cut when you were a child that I want to mention today, When I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I can tell you I remember exactly, it was Passover. And I was out in our backyard, and I don't know why I was holding a piece of sharp glass, but that piece just cut my finger. To this day, I have a very thick scar on my finger. But what's interesting, when I look at that scar, it's not that I remember the pain. I just simply remember my childhood. I remember that it was a holiday. I remember that I was in the backyard, and Passover is in the spring, so it was obviously a nice day if I was out. And it just brings back memories. So, that's just a small thing, but my gosh, we have so many scars that have happened. And I just think, I remember also that I probably should have had stitches. But when I was growing up, we didn't have like the little doc in the boxes that we do today. And my parents just let it heal. And I remember the pain that I went through as it healed. And yet then when the scar formed, there was no more pain. But I can touch that at any moment and remember those days. Not that that was the greatest thing, but it still was part of my memory. So I want to read you a little story. A popular speaker started off a seminar by holding up a $20 bill. A crowd of 200 had gathered to hear him speak. He asked, "Who would like this $20 bill?" I bet that was a long time ago when $20 was really important. 200 hands went up. He said, "I'm going to give this $20 bill to one of you, but first let me do this," and he crumpled the bill up. He then asked, "Who still wants it?" All 200 hands were still raised. "Well," he replied, "what if I do this?" Then he dropped the bill on the ground and stomped on it with his shoes. He picked it up and showed it to the crowd. The bill was all crumpled and dirty. "Now who still wants it?" All the hands still went up. My friends, I have just showed you a very important lesson. No matter what I did to the money, you still wanted it because it did not decrease in value. It was still worth $20. Many times in our life crumples us and grinds us into the dirt. We make bad decisions or deal with poor circumstances. We feel worthless. But no matter what has happened or what will happen, you will never lose your value. You are special. Don't ever forget it. So what does that mean? As human beings, we are walking this road called life. And I was just asked to do a eulogy for one of my nieces through marriage. Her mother passed away, and so I always start thinking about things that I want to talk about. And I guess one of the main ones is that whoever we are, be you a king or a pauper, we have a contract when we come onto this planet. We're here, and then we're not. We weren't here before we came. Now we're here, then we're gone. That's how it works. That's the price we pay for having this opportunity to walk through life. And on this journey, just imagine it like driving out west, or even where we live, just driving around South St. Louis and out west, where you have these rolling hills, and you go up and you go down, and you go around and you come out around the bend. And think about it. That's how our lives are. One day it's smooth. One day it's a little bumpy. One day it's, oh my God, do I really have to do this? This is just awful. And yet, we come through. We get scars. Sometimes they're tiny scars. Sometimes they're huge scars. Sometimes they're physical scars. And many times they are emotional scars. In our lives, we deal with physical illnesses. We deal with people who are addicted. We deal with angry people. We deal with joy-filled people. We deal with all of it because it's all in this soup that we call life. Quite a few years ago, I was invited, actually it was another Unity Spiritual Center, and they had fired their minister, and they got a new minister, and it was an extremely contentious relationship between the board and the minister. And I was asked to come in and do a workshop and see if there was something that I could do to help bridge that gap. And it was at a member's home. And I said, okay, well, the first thing I want to do is I want every board member I want them all to bring some kind of vegetable because we're going to make soup. And while we have this work, we're going to be working, we are going to make soup. And I started the workshop out by having each person, the minister needed to say something nice and look at each board member in the eye and say a compliment to them. And then each board member needed to say something that they liked about the minister to break the ice. But as we were doing our workshop, that soup was cooking, and people brought all kinds of strange things. And at lunchtime, it was the most delicious vegetable soup we had ever had. And my point was, I said to them, you know how we made that soup? When we served it, for those of you who cook, how many of you cook in here? How many of you make soup or chili or whatever? What do we have to do? We have to stir it, don't we? Before we serve it, we need to stir it up to get all the flavors in, to get all those spices going out through it, pull up the vegetables from the bottom. Because if we don't, and I put that ladle in, someone's just going to get all broth. And then when we get to the bottom, it's just going to be real thick because all the broth is gone. So the mastery of making a great soup or a great chili is stirring up the pot. Guys, it's the same thing in life. So many times we sit there and the scar is festering. It's bubbling from underneath because the elephant is sitting in the room. But nobody sees the elephant. It's huge. It's ginormous. It takes over the whole room. And we go, oh, there's plenty of room for everyone to sit. Well, actually, we could just stand because the elephant's in the room. Nobody wants to address the elephant. How many of us live lives like this? We have issues with a loved one. Sometimes we just have to say, not my swamp, not my gator. Just none of my business. Not my business. None of my business. God's business. My business, none of my business. God's business. Sometimes we have to address the issue. Might it stir up the pot? Absolutely. But guess what? If you don't, everything's sinking to the bottom anyway. When there are issues going on in families, in spiritual centers, in communities, in the world, we have to stir up the pot. We have to talk. We have to say, hey, what's going on? How do we move on from here? Oh, and we also have to ask, is it fixable? Like, for example, sometimes when we have family members or friends who are active addicts, that are addicted maybe to substance abuse or whatever, we are not able to communicate with them as we would like because they're not able at that moment. But what we have to do is to learn to love them anyway, to separate the illness from the human, to remember the truth of who that person is, and to love them unconditionally. No, it doesn't mean we always have to subject ourselves to what's going on and make more and more scars until we are so scarred that we can't function. Does that make any sense? I hope it does, because this is what life is. Last week, I think that I mentioned to you that I was leaving a job that I had been with for 10 years. It was just a part-time one, but one I loved with all my heart. And I actually had a rather contentious, very contentious talk with my manager. And the talk pretty much was that this person defended the company, and the more defensive the person got defending the company, the more defensive I became defending myself. So I had a big part in that too. Well, this person kept texting me wanting to talk, and I just kept texting back, there's nothing to talk about. I'm gone. I'm out. So long. My son said, just block the person. And I was going to do that. And then on Wednesday, I got another text from the person, I would just really like to talk to you, and something clicked. And I thought, why is this person bothering with me? I'm one little person. I only had one little piece of business left. Enough, and they didn't deem that it was worth keeping it open. Why is this person wanting to talk to me so badly? There must be a reason. God calls, I listen. And I called the person. And I said, they said, you're not fired. And I said, well, I consider when there's no work and no income that is firing, laid off. You can name it whatever, but I'm gone, And I said, I want to share something with you because I do think you're a very nice person. I said, I want to let you know that had that conversation gone differently last week, I wouldn't have been leaving. I would have been hanging around so that I could have subbed and helped other people out. But I said, what I felt was that I was not heard. I was trying to tell you how I felt. And all I heard was the defense of the corporation. The more I heard the defense of the corporation, the more I dug my heels into my position. And the person responded and said, I'm really sorry. I certainly didn't mean to come across like that, and shared how they felt about having to let people go and what a hard year it's been for everyone. Long story short, we talked for quite a while. And it ended up, and I said, I just want to let you know that today I was given all the compassion and hearing that I needed to have heard last week. And I wanted to let you know this because I'm sure you will be having many conversations with many people throughout the years, that you have to let go. And this person was so appreciative of the phone call. And I told her, I said, my talk for this week is cherish your scars. And today we just healed a scar. And then after the conversation, and she said, if you ever need me, you have my text, you can contact me anytime. I can't thank you enough for this conversation, and I'm really sorry to see you leave, et cetera, et cetera. And I got off, and I felt like I lost 10 pounds because this felt like a grudge sitting on my shoulder over me. It felt like a giant wound. It felt like a huge scar. And I didn't like it. And what felt empowering was that through God speaking through me, I was able to make what was a contentious relationship into a warm and loving one. And after it was over, I texted her. I said, we just turned a scar into a star. And she sent back a little heart and a smile. I really believe that as human beings, we are capable of healing our scars. We are capable of taking our hurts, our little tiny selves. We all come here with our own issues. Wherever it is, if it's a family confrontation, and we don't like confrontation. I don't like confrontations. I don't know about any of you. I don't like them. But sometimes we kind of need to clear the air where there's things going on. And if you think about this, and this is how I'm going to end, and it's not a really pretty one, but think about any cut, or if anybody's ever had a tooth removed, like a wisdom tooth. And there's this thing known as a dry socket. And if you've ever had one, anybody ever had one? You will never forget it, because the pain is beyond excruciating. And all it is that it heals over on the outside, but the inside has not healed. Perfect definition of a bad scar. So I encourage each of you out there, put a balm on your scar. Wherever the conflict is, don't concentrate on that conflict. Concentrate on who that person really is. Knowing that we each have that light of God and that spark of God and that spark of divine presence within each of us, regardless of who you are, regardless of who you think I am, that we're all walking this planet doing the best we know how. I want to read my little poem, and then we will do a short meditation, and Tony and Bob will daily word us out. Cherish your scars. Sometimes life is very rough, downright scary, hurtful, tough. Things that cause physical pain, emotional stuff. We feel insane. Disappointments, betrayal, sometimes more. Then we wonder, will ever a door open for me, showing me a path for me to take? Just a little tiny break from the agony I am feeling now. Help me, please. Show me how to move forward. Change the path. Move from the pain. Move from the wrath I am feeling so deeply within. I know I am strong. I know I can win from each experience. I acquired a scar that hopefully will move me far away from the original source. I know I can heal and defy the force of continuing pain, disappointment. I will find the magic ointment to assist me in moving up until I grasp the winner's cup. Until then, I will cherish my scars until they ascend to the sky as the brightest of stars. And now I ask that you get comfortable and sink into that chair or sofa or ground, wherever you are, and take a deep breath. And imagine now you have been invited to sit at the table of the God of your understanding, higher power, person, place, or thing. And you have been granted 5 minutes in the presence of this amazing power. And as you stand to greet the presence, you are overwhelmed by the light, by the joy, by the beauty and the glory of simply being in that awesome presence. And you realize that you have something hanging heavily on your heart, and your power says, my child, share with me anything that lays heavy upon your heart, as I only love you and will continue to do so regardless. And you feel the tears welling up behind your eyes, the gentleness, the love, the power, the light, the warmth enfolding you. And you begin to share whatever it is that has put this scar upon your heart. And you tell it and you say it out loud. And as you say it, your personal higher power says to you, and so it is, my child. All is well. And you begin to notice the truth. All is well. The universe is acting just as universes act. And we are acting as people, spiritual beings in a human experience. And all is well. You begin to feel a lightness, a joy, a hopefulness, knowing that it is and always will be okay. And now your meeting is over. The time has come to go back to your chair, to your sofa, wherever you might be. And to take a deep breath and know that that presence is within your heart, healing as we speak. Every scar, every little tiny thing that has ever been unpleasant for you. And you are grateful. And now take another deep breath as you feel that warmth moving throughout your body. And begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And shake your head yes and no. And when you are ready, open your eyes and focus on something in the room you did not see before. And I would like to thank all of you for being here with us this morning. Please, please put comments on our Facebook page. We love hearing from each of you. We want your input. If you need a prayer or anything, we are so happy to do that for you. Also, please know that we operate solely by your donations. If you should feel so inclined, any amount is appreciated. You can find it on our Facebook page or our website, usc-midwest.com. Again, I want to thank you on behalf of Unity, and we would like to end with our closing prayer, and then I will invite Tony up. Please join in. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us wherever we are, God is. And any of you who are around the greater St. Louis, Belleville, Collinsville area, please join us. We are open. Come to our facility. We would love to see you at 11 a.m. So I hope to see some of you next week. Thank you and God bless. And Tony, take it away.
Good morning again. I'm Tony Siniglia, and I'm going to read the Daily Word. The Daily Word is probably Unity's most universal publication. So we try to read it at each service. For today, Sunday, September 26th, 2021, the word is really a phrase. Let go, let God. And the affirmation, divine love, wisdom, and understanding expressed through me. If I feel unsure of the next step In any situation, I let go and let God. I don't walk away from difficulty or try to force resolutions. Instead, I release my tight mental grip on problems and open